Welcome back to the sanctuary of unwritten stories. Welcome back to Anything You Want. You are here because you understand that in the vast, noisy theater of the internet, the most deafening sounds are often the ones made without words. You have tuned in because you refuse to be satisfied with the surface-level chatter. You crave the deep currents of emotion, the subtle shifts in the atmosphere, and the truth that hides behind a single image. Today, we are not just discussing a rumor. We are analyzing a phenomenon. We are looking at a moment where the digital world held its breath, captivated by two souls who seem to have found their way back to one another in the most beautiful way possible. Before we dive into this ocean of speculation and romance, please, solidify your place in our community. Press the subscribe button, ignite the like button to help us conquer the algorithm, and if you truly wish to support high-caliber, independent storytelling, our join button is your gateway to the inner circle. Your support allows us to paint these portraits with the depth they deserve. Today, we decode the magnetic connection between Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yağız. Let us begin. It all began quietly, residing in that nebulous, gray area where the mundane routine of everyday life intersects with the suggestive power of the imagination. In the modern age, romance rarely announces itself with trumpets. Instead, it arrives on the soft pause of a notification. A like delivered at the perfect psychological moment, a comment that balances precariously between friendly banter and intimate knowledge, a shared public appearance that suggests coincidence until the eyes betray a language that requires no translation. We are speaking, of course, of Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yağız, two names that carry a weight far heavier than their syllables. Gökberk, a man whose on-screen magnetism is capable of drowning out the background noise with nothing more than a sideways smile and a gaze that pierces the lens, and Özge, a woman of such luminous elegance that her presence seems to linger in the room long after the scene has cut to black. For weeks, perhaps months, the journey has been a slow, deliberate crescendo. At first, there were only the smallest of sparks. Breadcrumbs left in the digital forest that only the most attentive and devoted eyes could catch. A photograph bookmarked in a saved folder, a reply that felt too tender for a colleague, a behind-the-scenes video where the physical distance between them collapsed into a natural, almost inevitable closeness. It was in these microscopic moments that the narrative began to take shape. The fans, those tireless archivists of emotion who never sleep, began to sew invisible threads across the internet. They aligned dots between interviews given years ago and posts uploaded mere hours prior, finding an emotional coherence that seemed to grow stronger with every passing minute. The internet did what it does best: it amplified, it connected, it vibrated with the collective energy of thousands of minds focusing on a single point. And in this vortex of interpretation, a feeling took shape, no longer a mere suggestion, but a palpable anticipation. I have to pause here and ask you, the romantic detectives of Anything You Want, do you believe that love leaves clues before it is ever spoken aloud? Have you ever noticed a connection between two people just by the way they interact online? I am fascinated to hear your theories on digital body language in the comments below. And remember, if you appreciate this deep dive analysis, clicking the join button is the best way to help us keep this channel independent. There was no pose in this photograph. There was no effort to sell a narrative or project an image. There was only complicity. It captured the breathtaking beauty of two people who, standing at the center of a noisy, chaotic world, recognize each other, and in that recognition, find a home. In an instant, the image transcended its medium and became a symbol. The fuse touched the dust, and the internet lit up like a sprawling metropolis seen from the window of a plane at night. From that moment on, it has been a deluge. Comments poured in like a tidal wave, fan pages began to analyze the geometry of their bodies, video essays broke down every detail right down to the temperature of the light hitting their profiles. Some fans rejoiced with a fervor that suggested they had been waiting for this specific day all their lives. Others wrote poetic tributes, claiming that the chemistry between Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yağız is the answer to every unanswered question left by the unforgettable scenes they have shared, both on and off the set. Some tenderly confessed to holding their breath when they saw those hands so close, those eyes that seemed to fill the silence with a conversation only they could hear. And amidst the celebration, there was amazement. How many were convinced that their lives, usually so guarded, careful, and private, would never offer such a raw glimpse into their reality? And yet, here we are, staring at a snapshot that changed the rhythm of the day for millions of people. The true beauty of this story lies not just in the romance, but in its ability to unite. When love, or something dangerously similar to it, surfaces on the glittering, often cynical surface of the web, differences dissolve for a few precious hours. People talk, dream, and share. They recognize in each other the same curiosity, the same fundamental human desire to see how the story continues. It is a collective phenomenon where users become historians. They dig up old interviews, re-listen to recorded laughter, and look at archived photos with fresh eyes, believing they have noticed signs that were invisible until yesterday. It is as if someone rewound the tape of the last few months and said, "Look again, but this time, pay attention to what hasn't been said." We are weaving together the threads of a modern fairy tale today. If you are enjoying this narrative journey through the psychology of fame and romance, please take a second to like this video. It tells us that you value depth over drama. And for those who want to help us keep the lights on and the stories flowing, our super thanks feature is always open. And now, the question that hangs in the air: what happens next? If this is indeed a true relationship, if behind the photo lies a choice that extends beyond the fleeting moment, it means Gökberk and Özge can count on a massive wave of support. However, it also means that the stakes have been raised. Every step they take from this point forward becomes more visible. The public will demand to read between the lines of every gesture. Walking together under the spotlight is a sweet endeavor, but it is also complex. It multiplies the smiles received, but it requires patience, restraint, and the drawing of clear boundaries. In the meantime, the fans continue to weave scenarios. They imagine what a first public outing might look like: a shared event, a red carpet appearance, an interview where their glances serve as the soundtrack to their sentences. And between one refresh of the page and the next, a simple awareness grows. Certain connections, when they happen, resonate because they remind us of something within ourselves. They remind us of something we would like to experience, or perhaps something we have experienced and lost. The symbolic value of this couple cannot be ignored. Many see in Gökberk Demirci the tenacity of someone who always fights against the wind, the archetypal hero who enters the scene and commands attention without ever raising his voice. In Özge Yağız, they recognize a personal grace, the kind of alchemy that transforms fragility into strength and the everyday into poetry. Together, in the reflection of that photo, they seem to speak of the possibility of peace. They represent the reconciliation between intensity and tenderness, between the need for privacy and the human desire to be seen authentically. This is why the internet exploded. It was not just for two beloved faces, but for the idea that we are allowed to believe in surprising combinations. Of course, there are skeptics. There are those who maintain that a photo is not proof, that confirmation is needed, and that memories of their on-screen roles shouldn't confuse the reality of the present. And there are those who, with deep respect, remember that privacy is a fragile asset, deserving of time and silence. All of these voices are legitimate, because this story lives precisely at that intersection, the crossroads of a collective dream and an individual reality. The most passionate fans are now combing through the recent past. Some revisit public appearances where perhaps a detail had escaped them. Some note the delicacy with which Gökberk and Özge always chose their words when they spoke of one another from afar. Some collect the fragments of a sentimental chronology that finds a different meaning today. It is not a matter of rewriting history, but of understanding how the perspective of the present illuminates the contours of the past. Every chronicler, whether official or improvised, is trying to connect the dates, as if the story of Gökberk and Özge were a puzzle that ultimately reveals a landscape that is simultaneously familiar and entirely new. So, what is the ultimate truth? Perhaps the truth is simple: two people who have found each other again, or perhaps, two people who never truly lost each other. Two rising careers that sit side by side without overshadowing one another. Two ways of being in the world that speak in harmony. If today we feel the need to stop and look, it is because we like to believe that love can still surprise us, even when we thought we had seen it all. If tomorrow confirmation arrives, we will applaud. If instead they decide to retreat and protect their space, we will respect it. In any case, the mark has already been left. It is a luminous trail, like the contrail of a plane at sunset that everyone, for a singular moment, gazed at with the same dream in their eyes. We have reached the end of this journey into the spark that lit the web, but one gets the feeling that the story is only just beginning. And that, my friends, is the anatomy of a viral romance. We have walked through the digital whispers, analyzed the visual poetry, and stood on the precipice of a new chapter for Gökberk and Özge. Now, the stage belongs to you. Do you think they will make an official statement, or will they let their happiness speak for itself? And what did you feel when you first saw the photo? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe to Anything You Want and ring that bell. We are your home for the truth behind the glamour. Join the family if you can, and until next time, keep your eyes open and your hearts ready for the surprise. Goodbye.